As you're coming up through the department over the last 20 years, when you in the early days when you heard the word therapy, what that mean to you?
And that someone had something so debilitating that they couldn't handle it themselves, that they had to go tap out and they had to go get help, that they were not strong enough to get through it and didn't find the right combination of, fun, and they didn't marry the right person. They should divorce that person. They probably just need a drink. I mean, any stereotypical firefighter response that you can think of is probably what I thought. Not probably. It is what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for you, at what point did you make that shift where therapy is not a bad word?
Yeah, that happened. I met an amazing counselor who sat me down, and we started working through some things in my own personal life. And I remember when it clicked with me, I was very closed off, very standoffish. And to get to that point, mind you, it was a deal that I had made. That was part of my plan, right? It was like, to get better, I need to do this. And I put that down, and then I kicked myself when I put it down, because I had a bad experience with the therapist too. And that led me to deflect even more from therapy, right? But I knew in the back of my mind, I needed that. I needed to talk to somebody who could help me figure out me, right? And so I remember being standoffish in the first, session, maybe the first two sessions. And I remember them pointing that out. And I'm like, well, how do they know? And it's body tone, it's body language, it's your tone of voice, it's your, brash answers. And so when that was getting pointed out to me, I thought to myself, well, this person might know what they're talking about. They're picking up on some of the unspoken cues here. This person might be onto something. And so that intrigued me. And so when I get intrigued, I want to know more, right? And so then I start asking questions to them, and it starts becoming like a Q&A between the both of us. Now we're both interviewing each other. And that was a really cool interaction, because what that allowed me to do was to see that individual was a human, and to see that individual had their own flaws as well. And I know, being in school right now, that maybe discerning all your junk onto your client is not the typical way to go. But him being transparent in some of his own struggles allowed me to be transparent in my struggles. And that is where I made the switch. And it was like appointment 2, right? And that was like the appointment. I was like, I'm going to give it a shot, and I'm going to give it one more try. And if I don't get anything from this thing, I'm out. And that one interaction that we had, I think it was that second session, just turned me on to counseling so much. What
advice would you give for a first responder when looking for counselors, the do's and the don'ts?
Yeah. There's two modes of thinking here, right? There's first responders that want help at a first responder level, and they want to talk about work stuff, and they want to talk about, the work-life balance and all that stuff, right? And so you need to find somebody who's culturally competent. You need to find somebody who's walked in the shoes. You need to find somebody who knows what they're talking about, who's dealt with first responders. That is extremely important. The other side of it is sometimes first responders, and I'm speaking from personal experience, you don't want to have this first responder spotlight on you. You just want to talk to just what I would consider a normal counselor, right? No background in anything, and just talk to them about life circumstances. Talk to them about your past, so there's two different ways to think about this. I will say this though, there are great counseling centers and clinicians out there in this area, right? In the Houston area. And if I can I
please
shout out? Yeah. So Shield Bears Counseling Centers, absolutely amazing. They've been my day one. They've rolled with me through it all. And I've used them. I've been a patient. I've been a contracted, partner. My kids have used them, my wife, everything. Carrera Counseling, who I think you guys are familiar with. She does amazing work. Her and her team do amazing work. I've met them many times. Dana Gurley down in Sugar Land with the Healing Path. Probably forgetting a few, but those are the trendsetters that get it, that are culturally competent. So when you look into that, it's got to be more than just trauma informed. And I hate that term. To the fullest. I don't know if there's anything other to describe it though, right? I think we're all trauma informed to some degree, but it's got to be more than trauma informed. They have to be able to understand our job and what we go through. Priscilla with Carrera Counseling has this innate ability to insert herself within organizations, within first responder organizations, and really establish herself as a knowledgeable resource for people to trust and go to. And it's the same way with Shield Bearers, and it's the same way with Dana down at A Healing Path. And we have amazing clinicians. On the Ironclad team, we have a medical director or a clinical director for a first responder organization. We have an active advanced EMT that still rides the box every weekend. We have a combat veteran who's an amputee, and we have a therapy dog, and that's our team. Wow. And I feel with those 4 individuals, we have a good demographic, right? And I think that appeals to a lot of people. And that's something that Carrera's done, and that's something that Shield Bearers has done as well, is they have a team of people, right? That's important, to find a team. Watch out for price gouging. Watch out for, the availability. Make sure that you have those conversations and say, hey, when it hits the fan, are you going to be able to be contacted? When there's a crisis, usually that's how first responders do it, right? They do it big. When there's a crisis, what do we do? And make sure that they have a plan for you and resources beyond just counseling services.
I think you mentioned it once in another conversation. There's not a one size fits all for every first responder, but you've got this team of resources that you've put together, within your organization and these other organizations that also have experience. There is something that if every first responder who actually needed help reached out today, there wouldn't be enough resources, I don't feel. If they were honest with themselves and really reached out, then there's not enough of you to go around. But there's more people coming up, and you're setting that trend and that culture of saying, one, it's okay to ask for help, and there's two, it's our duty to be the resource and to answer when they are in crisis and have that. So, what does responsiveness look like for you and your team?
Yeah, so for our team, we've made several crisis response with some of the organizations that we work with. It's grassroots, it's organic, right? It's a phone call. Hey, this person is going through some stuff right now. We need help right now. We can't wait for a counseling appointment tomorrow. And obviously there's, legal implications. There's clinical implications. Does this person need to go to a hospital, right? Is that the safest, best place, best mode for them? Do we need to call law enforcement? Is that the safest, best mode for them? Those are the 2 boxes you have to check off first. If someone is in crisis, right? You have to look out for their safety and the safety of others. Beyond that, though, right? They just need a clinician because they're breaking down and they're having a hard time and life's just hit them in the face. We will show up, and we will show up in force. Usually that's Alexis and Molly, our crisis response canine. They'll be there within an hour, maybe 2 hours. George is absolutely amazing. Pat, absolutely amazing. They're all there at the drop of a hat. And beyond that, it's like I said, it's important to look at resources beyond counselors, right? What are we going to do with this person tonight? Because clearly he probably or she probably can't go back on shift, right? So do we have a bed somewhere for them? Do we have a facility somewhere that's capable, that understands where they need to stay? So you need to have intensive outpatient availability. You need to have inpatient availability. You need to have, rehab services available. Inpatient, like Plum Creek Ranch, The Last Resort. Plum Creek Ranch is out in Lockhart. The Last Resort is out in Smithville. Those are conversations, and those are people that I have constant contact with, that I talk with, that I've visited to make sure that we establish what's going to happen beyond just making this initial interaction with this person. And when you lay out options to them, and you tell them, like, look, I have X, Y, Z available. What's best fit for you? That empowers them, and that gives them the ability to essentially make a goal right then and there, right? And say, yeah, I need help. I need to do that. And we act quick. We strike hot. So that's the most important thing in the world is when someone's in crisis. Obviously, make sure that they're safe. Make sure you're safe. Beyond law enforcement and calling an ambulance, clinical help for us means that someone's going to be there in person. Yeah. That's what that means.
Thank you for what you do, Jason.
Absolutely.
And thank you for changing the definition of what it used to be to what it is now and making it more readily available for our first responders.
For sure. Absolutely.